very surprised that Jesus began to speak to her. Because back in those days, the Jews and the Samaritans were enemies. They didn't get along. And so she was very surprised. It would be very unusual for a Jew to speak to a Samaritan. Not only that, but it would also be very unusual for a strange man to speak to a woman. And so the woman was very surprised. In each one of us, we have a circle of people that we are comfortable with. We're comfortable with our friends. We're comfortable with our family members, the people who look like us, the people who speak our language, the people who have a similar culture. And there's a temptation to never get outside the circle of what you're comfortable with. But Jesus was willing to step outside of his comfort zone into the life of this woman and begin a conversation with her. And so I think in our everyday lives, we should be willing to speak to those who are different than us. Maybe someone who looks different, maybe someone who speaks a different language, maybe someone who is not a neighbor, someone that you've never seen before. But if you'll just open up a conversation, then that will allow you to ask God to give you an opportunity to begin to present the gospel to them. Amen?
Amen.
All right, so step number one is to open a conversation. Then let's look at what Jesus did next. Verse 10, Jesus answered her and says, if you knew the gift of God and who it is that asks you for a drink, you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water. And so Jesus suddenly starts talking about living water. He turns the conversation towards God. And I believe that this is the second step to leading someone to Jesus, is to turn the conversation to God. Everyone hold up two fingers like this and say, turn the conversation to God.
Turn the conversation to God.
And so the first step, you start a conversation. You can start talking about the weather. You can talk about sports, talk about the football season opening up. You can talk about all kinds of things. But then in every conversation, I think